Attention to Sister Callie Black, and her householder is Michaelin Weiner. And Sister Black is giving us information based on 1 Samuel chapter 23, verses 16 through 18. The theme is, how was Jonathan a fine example of humility? And I have her slip right here. The setting is speaking to a younger one while on a service break. So let's see how she brings that theme into play.
Hey, Michaelin. I have been having a really nice service morning with you. But I had overheard you saying something to Ethan about magazines. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, I was telling him I had placed more than he did.
Oh, I see. Well, do you think that was really nice?
No, I guess it probably wasn't.
You know, I was wondering, do you remember when the disciples were arguing on the road about who was greater?
Yes, I do. It was in the Bible storybook.
Yes, you're right. You know, let's read a scripture about it. Let's read Mark 9:33 to 37. That says, "And they came into Capernaum. Now when he was inside the house, he put the question to them, 'What were you arguing over on the road?' They kept silent, for on the road they had argued among themselves who was greater. So he sat down and called the 12 and said to them, 'If anyone wants to be first, he must be last of all and minister of all.' And he took a young child, stood it in their midst, and put his arms around it and said to them, 'Whoever receives one of such young children on the basis of my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me only, but also him that sent me forth.'" So do you see what Jesus said to his disciples?
Well, he said to be like little children because they don't worry about being greater and more important than others.
Yes, Michaelin, that's right. That's called humility, or being humble, when you view yourself as lower than others. Do you know who was a great example of humility?
No, not really.
Jonathan was. Let's take a look at a scripture about him. Let's read 1 Samuel 23:16 to 18. And that says, "Jonathan, the son of Saul, now rose up and went to David at Horesh, that he might strengthen his hand in regard to God. And he went on to say to him, 'Do not be afraid, for the hand of Saul my father will not find you, and you yourself will be king over Israel. And I myself shall become second to you. And Saul my father also has knowledge to that effect.' Then the two of them concluded a covenant before Jehovah, and David kept dwelling in Horesh, and Jonathan himself went to his home." So, do you remember what the situation was with David and Jonathan?
David was supposed to become king instead of Jonathan, even though Jonathan's dad was a king, right?
Yes, absolutely. Saul was very jealous of David, which shows a very bad attitude. But if we look at the example of Jonathan, it says here in the scripture that Jonathan would come second to David. How wonderful that example is for us to follow. So, Michaelin, what do you think about all this?
Well, I guess since Jesus was teaching his disciples to be, what was that word again?
Humble.
Yes, humble. If Jesus was teaching them to be humble, and since Jonathan wasn't jealous of David becoming king, then I guess I probably shouldn't brag to Ethan about placing more than he was. Maybe I should say I'm sorry.
I'm really proud of you, Michaelin. That's a great idea. How about we go finish our morning?